And we're live. Hello, and everyone. Welcome to the first Small Empires Google Hangout Live for Season 2. I'm Sam Sheffer, the Verge social media manager, here with a bunch of fine folks. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, Stephen, go first, and we'll go that way.
This way. That way. I'm Stephen
That
Greenwood.
way.
I am the executive producer of Small Empires. This is my second year doing the show. Very excited to be here.
Hey.
That's all you get from me for right now.
Hey, I'm Kirk Larson. I'm the director of the second season of Small Empires. I am more excited than Steven to be here. Yeah, take it away, PartPic folks. Jewel, you go.
Okay. I was like, I don't know which direction. Okay. I'm Jewel. I am the co-founder and CEO of PartPic, and I think I'm probably the most excited to be here. Be back.
Jason, where does that leave you, man?
An interesting predicament. My name is Jason Crane, co-founder and COO of PartPic, and I'm probably the second most excited. I'll give that to Jewel. I'll give first to Jewel.
Cool.
So
for everybody tuning in, hopefully you caught the episode this morning as it went up. And we wanted to take some time just to kind of chat about PartPic and field some questions. So if anybody has questions out there, use the hashtag SmallEmpires on Twitter, and we'll try to get to them a bit later. Oh, and we are supposed to have Alexis Ohanian here today. Just want to point that out. But he is in Japan, and it's 4 in the morning in Japan.
The middle of the morning.
So maybe the last sake train is running a little late.
Exactly. All right, so first order of business. How do we find PartPic? Steven, you found PartPic. How did this happen? How do we locate these fine folks?
Okay, I wanted to tell this story just because like it was kind of important to me as we were trying to put the season together, and starting to look at like what kind of companies we were going to be featuring. I got to go out to TechCrunch Disrupt in San Francisco this past September, and the lovely PartPic team was presenting on the first day. You guys were on the first day, right?
Yes, we were. Because we had to wait, I remember.
So walk us through what that's like, the whole like presentation at TechCrunch. I've seen the Silicon Valley HBO TV show, and I see how like nervous all those guys got before. Is it like that at all?
Yes. Well, okay, so I watched the show too, and there's no one like fighting on stage. I remember that part of the episode where there was a fight, but so none of that happened, which is great. But it was very nerve-wracking. I was very, very nervous, like palm sweaty. And I've done a lot of presentations before, but I just feel like the energy was really different there. It's like high pressure, Marissa Myers on stage, like it's just really scary. So
she was one of the judges for you guys.
Yes, yeah. Well, she's one of the finals judges, but still, she's a person that I've always just admired. So, and I've heard stories about. So, I was just like, oh my God, that's so scary. But I have a little like, I don't want to say ritual, but sort of like thing I do to bring down the nerves before I go on stage. And actually, as a team, like we said a prayer. Everyone's just like, this is going to be okay. We're going to do this. We're going to kill it. And I think we did pretty well. So it kind of worked out.
So sitting in the audience, like I was watching these guys, and they came out, and you did like a presentation, and then you actually get like the demo part of it, right? So you had your technical team come out, and they had like a little like overhead projector kind of thing that was showing what you could do with the app. And I just remember the whole time I was like, wow, this is like, it's a really different industry that you guys are attacking. You obviously have an incredible team, and you're based in Atlanta. And at that point, we knew we were going to be like going to like outside the Silicon Valley. And so when I heard Atlanta, I was like, okay, done. Let's talk, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably we're the most different you could be. I mean, we're outside Silicon Valley. We're working on a very unsexy industry. We're basically have a very high tech solution. I mean, there's a lot of high tech companies at TechCrunch, but we're solving the problem using really, really difficult technology. So yeah, I'm glad that those things stood out to you.
And so, like, what else happened after an event like that? Like, what does it mean for a young company like you guys to be able to get on stage somewhere like that and to be able to show off?
Jason, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. The just, as Joe said, the energy at TechCrunch is phenomenal, and for us, it was our introduction to Silicon Valley. Had never really spoken to any investors in Silicon Valley. Um, this was a super large stage for us, and so it was so busy, but it was for us. It was like, okay, we're here, and now all we have to do is to do our part. The platform is there, and so as far as like what happened afterwards, it was just pretty much figuring out a way to address all of the interests from investors, just techies in general, people that are just interested about the technology, people that seen us during Startup Alley and just wanted to ask more questions. So we spent a lot of time just dividing and conquering and making sure that we could talk to as many people as possible.
Awesome.
And so what's response been like, I mean, after all this, after, the episode went up today, but has anything changed drastically since, you guys were on stage there and now that we're talking here?
Yeah, so I'll say, I think we had certain expectations about what would happen after TechCrunch. And honestly, it hasn't been, okay, so let me take a step back. It's only been like a little bit over a month since TechCrunch. So, things are happening, but in my mind, I'm like, I always want things to happen faster. So we haven't necessarily closed any investors since TechCrunch. We've had a lot of really great meetings, but we're still kind of, I don't know, we're still kind of waiting for something to drop. So that's one thing where I was just like, oh, we get on stage at TechCrunch and we do really well, then all of our problems are going to be solved, and that's really not how it's been. But it has been pretty cool, like on the customer side. I mean, we've had a really steady flow of requests on our website or outreach from companies, so that's been cool. But we really didn't, we never really had a problem with customer interest. So it still leaves us in the same sort of predicament where we have all these potential customers and now even more, and we don't really have the resources to support them. And people are like, well, why don't you just get them to pay you? And the answer to that is, well, yeah, we will get them to pay us eventually, but if they're a large corporation, they're not going to pay us to build our team. They're not going to pay us to get the pieces in place to support them. So
that's called Kickstarter.
yeah.
You're not going to kickstart this.
Right, exactly. So, that's where we still need seed funding to be able to get all the pieces in place so that we can actually go and launch with these big corporations. So
I will add to that it was really like inspiring to see how many people reached out to us afterwards, because we didn't go and headhunt them. We didn't cold call or anything like that. We sort of waited, and day by day, more and more people reached out and called us, and it really speaks to how well we can serve the industry because people are eager for it.
Oh, look, a wild Alexis has appeared.
Hey guys, sorry for the delay. I was not asleep. I was just caught up in a board meeting.
Oh, so I can draw on your face with this?
Yeah, too much sake. We get it. It's cool.
There we go. Thank you. Keep it professional.
For everyone watching, this is Alexis Ohanian. He is co-creator of Reddit and a bunch of other cool things, and the show's host. So, Alexis, how are things? How is Japan?
It's going really well. Yeah, having a wonderful time here. Ohio Good morning to all of you. Actually, no, we're you guys. It's 4:20 here, but I guess it's konnichiwa wherever you
3:20
are.
p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Cool.
were
So,
just we were just
Alexis,
discussing.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say like early stages of fundraising kind of stuff, and I think I want to take this time with like the live chats to get into a little bit more like technical stuff that we don't get into the episode. So what advice do you guys have for people that are watching this episode and they're like, all right, this is what I needed to finally get everything together and like start working all nights to put together my company, and they're just going to they're going to start approaching that seed round. What are the things to be careful of, like with term sheets? Maybe what is a term sheet, and how do you know what to look out for?
Wow. So a term sheet is basically a document that sets out the terms of the deal. So, if you're going to be giving a piece of your company away to an investor, or if you're going to do a convertible note, which are just two different ways to structure your financing round. The sheet is basically just details all the legalities of it. So what's owed to who, at what point, and those types of things. So at this point, we're really in the thick of term sheets. So we've gotten a few, we haven't liked a few. We've had people not be able to fulfill things that were put into term sheets. So, we've kind of seen the ins and outs. In our case, so far, it hasn't been the greatest things that we've experienced as it relates to term sheets, but that's part of it. And the great thing is that we've had a really amazing legal team that's helped us from the time that we were in an accelerator up until now, and we send everything to them. So the one thing I would say as like a piece of advice is don't sign things that you don't know what they mean. Definitely, yeah. I know a lot of people just are like, oh yeah, term sheet, done.
Did you look all the way through that contract that you guys signed when you came on the show?
Yeah, that wasn't a talent release.
That was a term sheet.
Yeah.
Vox Media now owns PartPic.
Don't worry, our team at Foley already reviewed it. We're good.
Don't try to trick me. So anyway, I was just saying that I think people should make sure that they're reading what they're getting, and then also like having some ideas. What are you not going to say yes to? I mean, like I said, we got some term sheets early, and it's just like, no, we're not going to give you 5% of our company for like no money, or for your guidance. No thanks. So those are some things to look out for.
Yeah, people will ask they'll ask for a lot of stuff. If you're not confident and you don't know sort of what your company is worth or what you're willing to put on the table, people they'll push the limits. So as you'll say, it's really important to have that foundation and know what you're willing to negotiate on when you sit down at the table.
And the last thing I'll say on that is just like knowing what you don't know. So, I mean, in my case, I have a business background, but I never negotiated a term sheet before. So it's really taken like reaching out to people, getting advice, and seeing, okay, what do you think about this? Is this industry standard or no, or not? So that's kind of how we've worked it so far.
One of the things. Is that a flower? Yeah.
It looks so nice. I think it makes you look nice.
It's pretty.
Thank you. One of the things that we've done at Y Combinator is we've open sourced some safe documents, which it's kind of a remix of the convertible note, which was a clever hack to make it as easy as possible to fundraise, and safes are a slightly more elegant solution for this. But it's tricky, Greg, because like early stage companies don't. It is really hard to value them, and the advantage of using things like convertible debt or a safe is that you get to basically put off valuing them until a later round when people can have a sort of better sense of what they're all worth. But even with this added simplicity, these things didn't even exist 9 years ago when Steve and I were starting Reddit. They existed, they just weren't common practice. What this world is moving towards now is one with, I think, more transparency and more founder friendliness, although there's still a ways to go. One of the things I'd love to see is for, if anyone wants to go out there and do this, an anonymized place to upload term sheets, where you'd have to obviously be, pretty confident they were going to stay that way. Or I guess you could do a little bit to self-censor, but basically see what is market, right? Because right now as founders, we kind of have to go around and we have inefficient knowledge to know what's market here, what's market there, what's market. It's the advantage of networks that allow you to realize, okay, no, these terms are ridiculous, or having that lawyer to talk to who says that's ridiculous. But if we actually knew in aggregate what really is market, you could then go to an investor and be like, please, like, I actually know this is not standard because here's 1,000 deals just got done in the last year that don't have this. So some enterprising founder can work on this now.
Yeah, I really actually, that's a great idea because even for us in Atlanta, or do it.
Secret meets Slideshare, just for the record, is that?
Slideshare?
Yeah, or like what do people share documents nowadays?
Nah, man. You need you basically need to be able to extract the very specific deal terms across the board, just to know like what is a normal, what is normal right now for a typical kind of company.
Well,
Sorry, I was just gonna shout out to I don't know if you guys saw what Buffer put out. I think it was like yesterday or the day before, but basically they're raising. I think they're raising like $3.5 million, and they literally wrote out every single reason why and the term sheet, and they put it on their website. And I thought it was really interesting just to see, first of all, that they're being so transparent. I don't necessarily know like the motives or everything, but they did this whole big write up about it. So maybe that'll be a thing to kind of shift the chasm, if you will, around transparency and fundraising. But I thought it was just a really interesting little tip.
Wow. Yeah, they're also raising at 60. Huh, wow.
And they share everyone's costs and all the revenue. This is really interesting.
Yeah, and then you can become an investor as well.
Hey Sam, can we put a link to that? I think it's an interesting article to read. I mean, I guess part of the well, we'll figure that out.
There's a chat window, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, so big question of the episode: funding. How do you get it? Where do you get it from? And we kind of answered this in the episode, but I think it would be fun to hear where you're at now. What happens if you guys got some big funder and you guys were like super set and on the right track? What would you guys do tomorrow?
We would launch. Well, actually what we would do is we would put our team in place. So right now, full transparency, we have a really great team of folks who have gotten us to this point. But because we haven't been able to compete with, $100,000 plus offers that engineers have gotten, or things of that nature, we really had to just borrow people when we can. But there are so many people that actually want to work for us full time. It's just the fact that they have families to feed or loans to pay off, and so they really haven't been able to commit 100% of their time to PartPic. So the first thing is just getting everyone who has worked with us to this point, and a few other people we've identified, to be full-time on PartPic. And then, honestly, because we've done so much work to this point, everything else we really have the plans for. It's just a matter of executing. And we really have the people on board to execute with. It's just a matter of having the team in place to do so. So those are, really it's around building out the team and launching. We've submitted the pilot proposals, gotten initial approvals on those pilots, and so everything pretty much is in place on the customer side. It's just a matter of having everyone in place to launch.
It's just can you support it when that happens?
Yes, exactly.
And when we do launch and our start, and we're able to start to collect that data and really analyze the results of being in the market, that will go a long way with our funding conversations. That seems to be one of the pieces that unfortunately we're missing in our fundraising conversations. While we have the pipeline, we have the interest from both investors and clients, because of our small team and inability to support a large corporation on just a few part-time employees. That will really help us in closing that gap in the fundraising.
I got a question for you guys, and I know it was sort of addressed in the episode. But for those who haven't seen the episode yet, do you think it would help to be in Silicon Valley? Like if you sort of just picked up and moved there at this point, the exposure is kind of snowballing in a sense now, and maybe being there, being at a coffee shop with, someone who knows an investor. But you guys said you're loyal to your hometown, and then this also ties into. I got this question from someone on Twitter. Their question was, why do you think other founders don't see the potential of where you guys live? So there's obviously value. You guys are in love with your own home, which makes sense. But yeah.
So the answer on the Silicon Valley question is, so I've been kind of like, oh, maybe we could do it, but honestly, I really don't think Silicon Valley is the place for PartPic. The reason is because I don't know very many, if any, major manufacturers that are based there. So in terms of our customer base, it's really not in Silicon Valley, period. As far as investors go, yes, they're probably, it probably would be easier, maybe. Honestly, it's hard to say if location is the thing. That hasn't been the number one thing that people have given to me as an objection. It may be easier just because I'm kind of would be able to be more in people's faces, and I think maybe for a set period of time, it would be great to be out there. But I just think for where we are, the most important thing is for us to be close to our customers and close to the talent. So one thing we talked about in the episode is like Georgia Tech has there's a really great pipeline coming out of Georgia Tech, and then other schools on the East Coast. So we're seeing people coming from Carnegie Mellon that have really great skills in this area, NYU. So the schools that are going to be the feeders for the technology that we're working on are really not, obviously Stanford has a great program too, but I just don't think Silicon Valley is the place for PartPic. Temporarily, maybe, but in terms of long term and being close to our customers, definitely think that Atlanta, New York is getting more looks just because there's more going on in the investment area there, and then we are still relatively close to a good customer base. But I'd say East Coast for sure, and then my family, and I really just want to be close to my family. So, yeah. Go Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And then you asked another question. Sorry, about.
Yeah. Why do you think other founders don't see the potential of where you live? Maybe they just don't know, your sort of industry. Because you said your business is not like many other Silicon Valley businesses, and the industry is, very much focused around Atlanta too.
Honestly, I think that has to do with the culture of tech right now, and honestly, really the spirit of where people are starting businesses from. Like, what is it that is within them that makes them want to start a business? And not to say that people aren't starting from genuine places, but it was really my experience in this industry that made me feel like, okay, this is literally not going to work for me. I'm not going to be able to work in this company because I think this is so horrible that I really just I have to come up with something because I can't deal, and that my team, I was seeing them every day and they're just miserable. They're crying to me about how much they hate their jobs. And so, I'm not knocking any of the other companies that are in Silicon Valley, but I think a lot of the companies are founded maybe not from the most genuine place, or not from actually pain. It's more like, this is a nice to have thing, or this would be really fun or cool, but not like, no, you don't understand, I'm depressed. Like, I can't do my job because it sucks. So it's just different, and I think that there are a lot of people are coming from genuine areas of pain that are outside of Silicon Valley. And so I don't know why people, anyway, I think maybe the culture is just the thing that's a little bit different that you'll find in different areas that you won't necessarily find in the Valley.
You know, Jewel, it's actually funny. We were at a factory shooting. Well, it wasn't a factory, but I don't want to give away what's going to happen. We were at this place shooting, and they were on the McMaster-Carr website, and this guy was just scrolling through a page looking for something, and he couldn't find it. And I just said to him, I was like, hey, we just did this piece on this company where you can take a picture of the part that you need, and it'll just look it up for you. And he looked at me, and he was just like, what, are you serious? Really? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, how do I get it? I was like, you can't. He's like, and he just got really mad, and I had to walk away because the factory dude. But yeah, people want to do this. Like people would be psyched for this.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think, starting PartPic, obviously there's a lot of frustrating days and things where I'm just like, oh, I want to give up. But the most energizing thing is that every time I pitch it or every time I tell someone this is what I'm working on, they always answer me with a story. They always say, oh, that would be so helpful for this one time, and I was trying to fix this thing, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I wish I had PartPic. That's always the response. It never fails. So that makes me feel like, okay, well, at least this is something that people will find valuable. I know that for a fact because literally the thousands of times I've been talking to people, they always give me a story.
I'm going to segue with that. There's another Twitter question here. What other industries does PartPic see itself aiming at?
So, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, as far as industries, parts are parts. You can look around the room and everything you see is made up of, a ton of different parts. So we really, designed the technology to be able to adapt and be flexible, around, all different types of parts. While we still have, some research and some things to do in our roadmap to address those other industries, we're confident that our methodologies will work across other industries. So we've started with fasteners and plumbing. Some of the low-hanging fruit is automotive, which is a huge industry, not just in the U.S. but globally. Electrical supplies. Even doing more around home repair. Imagine having all of IKEA's parts in the palm of your hand and accessible just by taking a picture. So there's a ton of different industries as far as like the types of parts that we're catering to, but we also have to recognize that we're trying to be progressive with visual recognition, and our methodology and the way that we approach visual recognition is very different than a lot of the visual recognition companies that exist. And that attention to detail, will really, we're hoping that it'll, continue to evolve and push the recognition space, forward. And as especially since TechCrunch, we've had so much interest, not just from potential clients, but from other partners who are like, we could use that, and we could use it for something that our PartPic hasn't even thought of yet. But it's still using the visual recognition technology, the artificial intelligence, if you will, of a computer simulated vision to be able to solve problems. And I think that's one of the great flexible points of that PartPic brings to the table.
So we didn't actually get to show this in the episode, but I want you guys to talk about the thing that you kind of dreamed up, the scanner belt.
Yes.
Can you explain that? I don't know if you have a link that you can share.
Yes, I think.
For you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'll tell you about that. That was really an answer to an objection, and the objection was PartPic sounds great, but how are you going to scale? And in my mind, I've always thought, okay, there are tons and tons of websites that have images of tons of things, and so I never thought that someone could say, with a straight face, PartPic isn't going to work because you're not going to be able to get all the images. But that has been one of the objections. So as a response to that, I said, okay, well, if we needed to actually image all of the parts, what would be the quickest way for us to do that? It's obviously not very quick for me to take all the pictures of the parts. So what if we could just automate that process? And we got with some mechanical engineers to spec out this machine where basically it's just a conveyor belt, and you just send parts down the line, and we have cameras on all angles capturing images and putting them automatically into our database. And so basically it just automates that process. So it's a pretty simple idea, but that's kind of an answer to the objection of like, oh, how are you going to scale? Well, now we have this idea really spec'd out around getting 1,000 parts into the database per day. So that's kind of the thing there, and that's another thing that we're fundraising to actually be able to build it out and fully launch that as well.
Jason.
Because the database doesn't exist at all, right? Like, you guys are doing this from scratch.
So to a certain extent, the database for the clients, the customers, National Builder Supply talked a little bit about this, but they do have components of it. So for the parts that they sent us to put into the database, they already had the specs associated with each part, but they just didn't have good images associated with those specs. So we don't have to do the database thing from start to finish. We just have to plug in to the existing databases that they have, and then associate each of the specs for a given part with an image. So some customers that we've talked to, they do have pretty good images that we can use. Most of them really don't have good images, so that's the reason that we need to come up with this machine. But the great thing is that we don't have to have images for all the parts. So this is another question that I got at TechCrunch, was that we're actually not, we don't have any goal to take pictures of all the parts. That's crazy talk. We really just need basically a base part for every category, and then we use computer vision to tie to the metadata associated with, this is getting a little bit.
No, it's good. The meta is good.
Sam, can you bring up the video that we're talking about? It's in that chat window on the side. I don't know if you have control.
Me?
Sorry, no, Sam.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
Yeah,
in the meantime.
Yeah, Jewel, you were saying, you said this when we were talking to you, that like if you have a screw that's 1/2 inch, then you can apply that whatever technology you have to screw. Period. Any screw of any kind, right? Is that the simplest way to say it?
Yeah. So the thing about it, easiest way to think about it is like a fingerprint, and so we're basically fingerprinting all the parts, and the things that go into the fingerprint are both the visual information that we get and the metadata that's associated with that. So, and then the other way to look at it is that we're creating hierarchies. So for screws, we have a hierarchy that is screws, and then from there, we break that into the types of heads that are on each screw. And then from there, we look at the thread count on each of those headed screws. It's complicated, but that's the way that we do the search. So in that sense of a hierarchy, we really just need one part that represents each of the, let's say level 3, which is the type of head that's on the screw, and that's how we do the search.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. When you're talking to like software people and investors, do they get weirded out when you start talking about the real world?
When you say the real world,
like when you're talking about a physical object, are people like, what are you talking? That's not code. Like, is that ever a reaction?
That's interesting. I mean, honestly, I feel like mostly we don't talk to people who really understand what we're talking about. I mean, in terms of investors, obviously there's tons of brilliant investors, but a lot of times they are not in the position to like deep dive about what's really going on.
Right.
So as long as we can show them, which the nice thing is that the demo of PartPic is really simple, but the back end of it is just, there's a lot going on. So typically we could just say, okay, look, this is how it works. We might pull up our back end to show them this is what's happening, or this is how we train, or these are the different algorithms that we have running. But typically we don't go there. maybe that just means we haven't gone far enough with some of the investors that we've been talking to. But yes, usually they're like, okay, I get it. I understand generally like what's going on here.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. I was
So
just curious.
there's another question that came across Twitter, and Alexis, I think you should take a stab at this one first. Somebody asked, they're writing from Austria, and they
Who's
said
this?
how they're on
What's their
Twitter.
handle? What's their Twitter handle?
What is their Twitter handle? Hold on one second.
All right. In the meantime, Guten Tag, Österreich. Yeah, finally.
Okay, this is I'm gonna butcher this.
Okay.
Sede, SEDE 1998.
Okay. City 1988. All right.
And they say, I live in Austria, Innsbruck. It is pretty hard to
Innsbruck.
find a co-founder that is great. How did you find yours?
Okay. Well,
What advice would you give people that are looking for co-founders?
Unfortunately, my story is not very helpful because I met him freshman year of college on move-in day. So go to college. This is a common issue. I'm sure there are some great founders in Innsbruck. Maybe Wien might be a little better, but universities are really the best hub, right? What makes so many startup communities great is usually a great school there or schools, because it's a bunch of young people who usually don't have anything holding them back from starting a company. Hopefully, they don't have anything sort of dependent on them, and they're thinking and they're doing and they're at this great time in their lives. So you can do that traditional stuff. Whether I don't know if you're of the age to be going to school. If you're not, I don't know. Judging from your username, you're probably right about that point. There are actually more and more meetups than ever. Like seriously, meetup.org, Hacker News has a bunch of international meetups. Most of the major cities across the world now have some form of startup weekend that shows up there. Do a startup weekend, do a hackathon. Google is your friend, but there are plenty of chances to meet up in meet space with other people interested in startups. So take advantage of that. And then there's actually a website. There's an app for that. Founder dating.
Oh, is it like Tinder for?
Oh yeah,
Not Tinder for. Okay, the one I'm thinking of is not necessarily.
no, but it's like speed dating for founders, right? It's like
kind of. Yeah, I've started to see more and more founders introduce themselves that way as having met on.
I mean, he's 16. I don't know if he's ready for that.
Oh wow.
Like a bit,
Okay.
I'm just if it's 1998, I'm guessing that he's 16, right?
Yeah. Oh wow, dude. You just or you, whoever you are, male or female. It's so early to be thinking of starting a startup, but good for you.
Great.
Have a childhood first too.
I'm looking at his website. I think he has a startup. It's called Log You In. It seems pretty. I don't know what it is, what it does. But it's really cool.
English. All right, tweet at me, and I'll try to help. The thing is, I mean, actually, you all at PartPic have a great version of this story because this is the other common way a founder meetup happens.
Yeah. So Jason and I worked together. Actually, it's funny because we actually weren't in the same office, but we were really passionate about the same things. So Jason recruited. This is a funny story. So Jason recruited me to join his team, which was our kind of 20% projects around diversity and basically getting more minority-owned businesses using Google products. So this is when we were both at Google. And he heard about me because I got Howard, which I went to Howard, go Bison. I got Howard using Google Apps when I was still a student after my internship at Google. And so I think I had created a little buzz for myself. And Jason was, hey, I'm the popular dude around here. Who's this girl? So, so he kind of he had called me up even before my first day starting full time at Google. He recruited me to join the effort around getting more minority owned businesses using Google tools. So we started working together basically like when I first got to Google, and we made it our mission to take what I had done at Howard and do that at all historically black colleges and universities. And we had a lot of success. We got like around 25, 30 HBCUs transition to Google Apps, not just like considering it, but actually moved over. So Yeah, within a year. So,
It's like nothing as a side to our day jobs.
right, this was neither one of our day jobs. So, we discovered, okay, we work really well together, and actually, in this case, we're still not in the same place every day. So that was kind of a good, I guess, practice for PartPic, because in a sense, we're still doing the same thing because Jason's based in New York and I'm in Atlanta. So yeah, that's how we met and got started, and we became, really great friends. And he's one of the first people I called when I had the idea. Actually, I'll say this: I say that a lot, but the real story is I was frustrated at McMaster, and I was talking to Jason and telling him about it, and he was like, "Why don't you try to, think of something that will make your time go by, really?" And I was like, "That's a good point." And so that's kind of how, things really got started. And when I was like, this is what I need to do, I called Jason, and he was working at Shazam. So I was like, you guys know about recognition stuff. What are you doing? What are you
doing? The algorithms.
Yeah, give me the stuff. Those geniuses come up with ways to recognize music. Let's do it for parts. So yeah, that's kind of how we got started. And then we found our technical team. I just started being really creepy and hanging out at Georgia Tech and meeting people like, hey, what's up? But that kind of parlayed into us building relationships and bringing people on board. So that's our story.
So there you go. Go to college, get a job, or just hang out at a college or meetups / hackathons.
Or just be aggressively cool and have people come to you, right? Is that what you do? And then find the people that are cool and go to them, and then once you go to them,
that's
them come back to you later.
Well, you close your laptop, you go outside, and you experience the world.
Yeah. Meet people, talk to people.
You put on your Oculus Rift.
And your robe and wizard hat.
Wow. That's how Steven finds his co-founders. All right. That is how you found me.
Yeah, precisely.
Cool.
Yeah. So
right, I think we're coming up on an hour. Yeah. We're coming up on an hour, which is great. I think this was a great discussion. Cool. Does anyone have any final thoughts or anything to say before I stop this broadcast?
Well, I'm going to say something a little bit unrelated to PartPic, but I'm from Kansas City, so go Royals.
Oh, nice plug.
Had to.
Wow.
I'm do that every year.
Just for parody. Go other team. Yeah.
I still, the verdict is out for me about whether or not baseball is really a sport.
Ooh.
Only because if one of your look, I'm gonna get a lot of flack on Twitter for this.
You can't say it in Japan. Watch out.
Those are coming for you.
Sorry.
Baseball's the one where all the fat guys stand on the dirt.
Exactly. if one of the greatest baseball players ever in America was an overweight alcoholic, is that really a sport?
Fat guys need a chance too.
No, I know, but there are plenty of great roles to play in football, for instance. And again, Jewel, I'm sorry about last Sunday.
Oh no, that's a no there. But yesterday, that was pretty legit. I was really surprised.
Yeah, that was a great game. That Redskins game was great.
Oh boy,
Colt 45.
Yeah, that's good. The Titans are continuing to disappoint me every single week. So.
Sorry.
And the Falcons are no better. So, yeah.
It's all right. There's room on this bandwagon. We're just getting started.
No, I will never join.
Wow. You went to school in D.C. Anyway.
I did, but no. Just no.
For anybody else out there watching that hasn't seen the episode yet, do you guys want to give them favorite moment to look out for or a preface to it?
I just think it is so, not just because I'm in it, but I'm just really impressed by the production, and it's just really well done. I was just like, man, I can't believe I'm just a part of this great stuff. This is good stuff. And also, I mean, I wasn't really sure like the direction it was going to go, but I think you guys did a really great job of covering, really the story, like how it is for us right now, which I think a lot of people don't really get to see this segment of the journey. So as much as for me it feels like, oh, this is so hard, I just want to get over this part of it. It is kind of it is nice even just to see like, okay, this is part of the journey, and at least now people know we're still pressing, we're still going, and we're gonna make it. By golly.
And thank you for letting us capture that part too. It's not a lot of people get to see that, and I think it's really really helpful for a lot of people too. So thank you.
I thought it was really brave and really cool. So great, awesome. Oh wait, we have one question from Twitter that I think we should answer. Alexis Punit Thakar is asking, what is on your head? A crown? A VHS player?
I don't know because I didn't draw it, Kunit. I'm sorry. I think that was Kirk. He's a terrible artist.
I think it's a crown and a VHS player.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right, cool. Well, to everyone watching, assuming you haven't seen the episode, you can go to youtube.com/The Verge, or you can just Google search Small Empires. It's up on theverge.com. It's up on YouTube. Also, Season 1 is available on the internet to watch. There's a bunch of great episodes there. And we'll be back next week. We're doing another Hangout, and another episode of Small Empires will be out next week, too. Thanks to Alexis and Jason and Kirk and everyone else for joining us. Yeah, cool. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.